I don't know about everyone else, but with the COVID-19 lockdowns, I was really starting to get the itch for some roller coasters, or at least to be outside in a theme park type of atmosphere. So a few weeks ago, when Mount Olympus in Wisconsin Dells announced that they would be opening up and that the attractions would be for resort guests only, we decided to book a trip for a long weekend and to check out this park. Here is how it went. Booking a room on the website was easy, but without much knowledge of how the resort was laid out, I was a little confused on where exactly the accommodations would be in relation to the park. This was not a major concern for me though. I was just happy to be able to get out of the house and be outside and to ride some rides. After having some breakfast, we left a local Chick-fil-A around 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We had a smooth drive north with no bad traffic. The only construction zones were around the Purdue exit on 65 North in Lafayette, Indiana, which was to be expected as this stretch of road has been under construction for over the last 20 years since I started college there. We made the whole trip to Wisconsin Dells in just over 5 hours, putting us in the Dells at 1 p.m. local time. After having some lunch at a local spot in town, we made it to our hotel. The room was clean, in good shape, and perfect for what we needed it for. After getting our stuff situated in our room, we headed to the park. We walked from our hotel across the street towards the entrance and made it through the gates. This entrance is close to the water park, as well as the indoor water park and indoor theme park. These last two parks were still closed and were not part of the reopening, so we didn't get to do any of those attractions located inside of these buildings. Also not available was the water park with all of the slides that are normally reserved for resort guests only. This was also still closed. This left just the main outdoor theme park and the main outdoor water park available for the duration of our stay, which was fine with us as it was just nice to be able to feel some normalcy again. We walked through the park taking in all of the scenes and to get a feel of where we were at. The Roman Colosseum themed buildings at our entrance were really neat looking and added a fun touch to the atmosphere. The first ride we tried out was the Cyclops Coaster, a small wooden coaster that does not look nearly as impressive as the ride that you get on it. We sat in the back seat, and upon reaching the crest of the lift hill, I was immediately ejected completely out of my seat. For being an older Woody, the ride was not too rough or jerky, but definitely had the classic feel of a wooden coaster. I had a few more moments of great airtime like this on the coaster throughout the ride. It was small, but it was awesome and a huge welcomed surprise. The next coaster we got on was Zeus. We also sat in the back of this coaster for our first ride. To me, this was just an okay ride. I neither loved it or hated it. What I did love was the fact that I was on a coaster either way. This ride had pretty good pacing and a fun first drop. The drop is situated next to a pathway that leads from the entrance of the park directly to the queue line for the coaster. After this, the ride goes over a couple of airtime hills and then into a longer turnaround where the train follows over a couple more smaller bunny hop hills before heading into a speedy banked right turn. This turn leads into the final brake run that leads down a braked hill into the station. Overall, it is a coaster worth going on, but I preferred Cyclops to this. I also prefer this next coaster we went on, which is Hades 360. After looking up videos when we decided to plan this trip, Hades was the ride that I was looking forward to getting on the most, and after being able to ride it, I was really impressed with it. It has a constant intensity that you feel throughout the ride. When the coaster leaves the station, it immediately goes down a small hill where a good amount of speed is gained. The train then gives a good little surprise airtime pop before making a couple of more turns and heading up the lift hill. The speed on the first drop that leads into the first tunnel is great, and that tunnel going under the parking lot is a really unique feature. The darkness in the tunnel is disorienting, but in a good way, as you are not sure how long you will be underground for. And then boom, just like that, there is light, and the first thing you see is the inversion, and you get through that right away. Leaving the tunnel on the other side of the parking lot right into this element, followed by an overbanked turn in the opposite direction of the inversion, is just really exciting. But before you know it, you pop over another small airtime hill and plunge back into the darkness. As the train returns, there are several more of these small airtime hills before a large bank turn to the right. A couple more twists and turns, and the train is back at the station. I feel like Hades is the best coaster at the park, and it was great to be able to have the chance to ride it for the first time before most of the other parks in the country had even begun to open back up yet. After this, we got a ride on the smallest of the wooden coasters at this park, Pegasus. I didn't get as much footage of this ride as I would have liked for our video, as this is the only time that we rode it. Thinking it would be a simple, relaxing little ride, we were all in for a shock. Getting thrown to the left very violently with every turn this little coaster made was surprising and more on the unpleasant side. We did not end up getting on this one again the rest of the trip. I would say try it out once and judge for yourselves how many more rides you'd want on it. Altogether on this trip, we made it to the park on 3 different days. Our initial trip was a Saturday evening. The parks were only open until 6 p.m., so after closing we would walk the strip in town just a few minutes drive from the park, browse through the shops. We even stopped at a great local place called Frozen Bear for some gelato on our first evening there. Sunday was our second day to enjoy the park. This time, instead of walking from our hotel, we drove. In doing so, we wound around the back roads trying to find the correct parking lot. It was cool to see the back areas of the park this way. The entrance to this road is near the hotel and the entrance we had entered the park on the previous day. But the road wound behind the park, clear to the other side where the actual parking lot is. We used this entrance the rest of the trip. From here, the big Trojan horse go-kart extravaganza is clearly visible, and walking through the entrance and on the paths past the other coaster structures was really cool when using this entrance. The entrance path leads through the gift shop and down a little hill that goes directly to the entrance of Zeus, so we caught that again, then rode Hades, and then rode Cyclops again. After these rides, we returned to the car to get our gear for the water park. Coming back into the park, we walked through that same entrance, using the path that goes underneath of Zeus and leads through the gift shop, and all the way across the park at a leisurely pace, just taking in the sights and sounds on our way to the water park. After getting changed in the park's facilities, we found some empty chairs near the wave pool, and tried to decide if we would check out the pool or the slides first. After hearing some screams coming from the pool, we decided to go check that out. This wave pool, named Poseidon's Rage, is awesome. It's got a nice size to it, it's got a good layout, and there's ramped entrances from the sides and coming down the middle as well. The waves in this pool are huge. They claim to be 9 feet tall, and they are every bit of that for sure. I wasn't expecting it or the power of the waves and had my sunglasses blasted completely off my face. Was able to find them a few minutes later though. The pool is awesome and I would say should not be missed by anybody visiting the park. After the pool, we went on some of the water slides. The tube ones were especially fun. One was more of a long, winding course with some good splashing. The other was fast with multiple bunny hills and almost got some airtime. The other slides were adequate as well. We hung out in the pool again after riding the slides, and by then decided that we were starting to feel hungry and thought we would take in some more of the local fare instead of eating at the park. And so we headed back towards the entrance that led to the parking lot where we were parked. After leaving the park, we decided to eat at the nearby Hot Dog Avenue, right down the street. This was open for drive-thru only, so we took it back to our hotel room and enjoyed the lunch. It was really good. We then got back into our dry gear and headed back to the park for more coaster rides on Zeus and Cyclops. On our Cyclops ride, after returning to the station, there was no wait, so the ride up sent us on another lap. This was really fun, as the parks that we usually go to do not allow this, and they make you get back in line if you want to ride it again. So this was really fun, and definitely an awesome bonus. After this, we left the park for the day and further explored the dells in town. The next morning, we got up, packed up all of our stuff to check out of the hotel, and headed back to the park for some last rides. Hades was closed at first, so we rode the Underworld Go-Karts. This is a really fun track. The layout is large and goes around a lake. The track also features a downhill where you can pick up some extra speed. This goes under a bridge that another part of the course goes over. When we started out, I ended up with the first cart out of our line, and I dominated the field, never getting past. I lapped a couple of other riders and ended up leaving my kids in shame. This was the only go-kart track that we drove on, but there are several others at the park, and if you have time, would definitely recommend hitting up the other ones. Was especially disappointed that we didn't get on the Trojan horse one, as the structure out near the road made it look like a lot of fun. After my kids' embarrassing loss on the Underworld Go-Kart track, we got our last rides on Hades. There was only a one train wait, which was great, as our other waits had been over a half an hour with the one train operations of this ride, so the early ride with no wait was quite welcome. We then got to ride Cyclops one last time, and then Zeus one last time, and then we headed towards the exit. On our way out, we did stop in the gift shop this time and got some t-shirts, and then we headed for home. Overall, this was a great getaway after all of the lockdowns. While the park was not completely up and operating yet, getting back on some rides and getting some sunshine and fresh air was amazing. Even though some of the attractions were shut down, the back outdoor water park was closed, and the indoor water park had not opened up yet. We had a great time at this park and got to experience not only some great rides on the coasters, a fun time splashing around in the unique wave pool, and some great runs down the main park's slides. We made some great memories together during a time of uncertainty and confusion. This trip was not about just getting coaster credits or getting torn down by giant waves. In the end, none of that really mattered. It was about the great time we were able to share together after months of being stuck inside with nowhere to go. It was about experiencing freedom and to be able to live and laugh again. We were able to feel somewhat normal again. And for that, I thank Mount Olympus Water and Theme Park Resort.